Content is king. 5 reasons you need to be producing more content. Content is what makes the web go round. You'll hear this a lot in marketing circles, but that doesn't make it any less true. Think about it. The internet is nothing if not a web of content. It is writing, it is video, and it is sound. All of that is content. If you don't have content then, you can't possibly stand out and stay afloat. You'll be drowned out by the noise. And if it's not enough simply to have content, it needs to be content that has high volume and high value. You need lots of excellent content. Here's why. Brand awareness. Studies show that people will only usually buy on the 7th or 8th exposure to a brand. It's by this point that they recognize the brand and trust it well enough to consider investing money. If you post regular content to your site or to social media, then you create lots of opportunities for people to be exposed to your brand and your message. Each one of those builds up and creates a greater likelihood that they will consider buying from you. SEO. Content is important for SEO. This is something that is overlooked too often. While there are countless strategies for increasing the search traffic that comes to your site, targeting keywords, building links, etc., the single most important and effective strategy is to add lots of content to your site. This is how the biggest and most successful brands on the web succeed. If you have hundreds of new articles on your site every month, you create countless opportunities to win at the SERPs and to bring in long-tail traffic. Eventually, you will succeed through sheer force. Return customers. People will come back to your site regularly if you give them a good reason to do so. If you post the odd article every few months, then people will quickly forget about you. But if there are lots of fascinating new posts every single day, then people might start to read your site each morning, or at least several times a week. Think about the websites that you visit on a regular basis yourself. They are all likely to be sites that provide you with an incentive to keep coming back. Brand loyalty and trust. The other reason to keep posting content is to develop your relationship with your audience and to build trust. Trust is a strange thing in that it very largely comes from familiarity and exposure. Simply seeing more of you ensures that your audience knows you better, likes you more, and feels more comfortable buying from you. This is as simple as posting regularly. Direct sales. Finally, keep in mind that each post can generate direct revenue from ads, or even by selling your products. If you include a reference to your product and a link in each post, they will then generate profit. You are now in a situation where each post pays for itself, meaning that there is no reason not to keep writing more of them. How to get people to talk about your product. There are few better forms of marketing than word of mouth. Think about the most successful movies at the theaters. They're not necessarily the movies with the biggest marketing budgets, though that helps. Instead, they're the movies that have the biggest impact on the culture around them. When a movie is genuinely exciting, thought-provoking, and different, it gets attention. People tell their friends, and they tell their friends. This is how you get your sleeper hits. So how do you get people to talk about your online product? How do you turn that into a sleeper hit? In this presentation, we're going to find out. The product itself. The first and most important point is that the product itself needs to be effective in driving discussion. This is something that not many internet marketers understand. How many online books are there that sell essentially the same thing? How are you going to get someone to talk about a book that teaches you how to make money when that is what 500 other books released this month are doing? Now consider something like the Vivo barefoot shoes. These are the toe shoes that you might have seen some people wearing. These things look so odd that just wearing them will invite questions, comments, and discussion. And of course, there are countless articles written about them. This isn't to say that everything you sell needs to break the mold and be completely new. Instead, you need to make sure that you find some angle that makes it interesting. You can sell a book on making money, but try to find some tip in there that is different and then make that into the USP. Find some way to make your product noteworthy. Story. They say that stories are SEO for the human brain, and that couldn't be more true. We love telling and sharing stories, so much so that this practice is ingrained into our very psyche by millions of years of evolution. If you wanted to make your product worthy of discussion, then find a story/narrative that you can promote. That could be the story of how you created the product, or it could be the story of someone who used it and was highly successful. Press releases. Next, you need a press release. This outlines news of your product or service in a way that will hopefully get news coverage from other websites or papers. The key here, though, is to use the previous 2 tips. Too many businesses expect press releases to essentially get them free coverage and advertising. This is not how it works. Journalists are serving their readers first, and so they will only cover your announcement if it is genuinely interesting to that audience. That's where having something genuinely new and different, or a real human interest story attached, will make all the difference. Failing that, a well-orchestrated PR stunt can do the job as well. Just think carefully about how you want to present your brand. How to overcome the fear of selling. It's a stranger thing, but a lot of us don't like asking for money for our time. Life has conditioned us to believe that altruism is the highest calling, and that we should be more than happy to provide our time, our work, and our creativity for free. It therefore comes extremely unnaturally when we try to sell something for cash. And that's especially true for those of us who have perhaps been providing free information via a website or a blog for years. How do you transition to the point where you're charging for your time and effort? Won't your audience turn against you? And is your product really worth that much? While giving things away for free is a nice idea, it's a pretty useless business model as it goes. In order to make a living doing what you love, you need to be willing to charge, and that means overcoming the fear of selling. Here's what you need to do. First, buy. Spend time in the shoes of your audience by buying the products that you are competing with. See what they are offering and see what it feels like. Do you feel like you got good value? And importantly, is this the kind of value you can offer? If the answer is yes, and if that seller is still popular, then chances are that you can charge for what you're doing too. You can also make yourself feel better about this by making sure you put your all into that project. Pull out all the stops to make this something truly great. And that way, you can sell with absolute confidence that your audience will be happy with what they receive. Another important step is to run a trial of sorts. This is something that a lot of people never consider, which is a big mistake seeing as sales platforms have a habit of going wrong. If you have a product or a service and you spend months generating pre-orders, you risk a huge catastrophe if those orders aren't automatically fulfilled once your product is set to live. To make sure this doesn't happen, have a test run and try buying from yourself or getting friends and family to do so. This way, you can see that everything is running smoothly, so at least you won't need to worry about that. If you are still anxious, you can also try offering a smaller product to begin with. That might mean selling a very small report or training program for $10 instead of selling an ebook or online course for $90. This is a great way to get your feet wet and to get a feel for selling. Once you see how positive the reaction is, you'll have no qualms about working on your next, bigger follow-up project. Finally, if you still have the fear, consider accepting pre-orders for an unfinished product. This is excellent as it forces you to build the product and try. Wait for a moment of courage, announce that you are taking pre-orders, and then go for it. How to use giveaways to boost your online sales. If you want to make more money, then you need to give more away for free. This sounds contradictory, right? Sure, I get that. But in fact, this is one of the truest principles of selling, and it's for very good reason. In this presentation, we're going to discuss why that is. A free taste. Too many sellers make the mistake of thinking that people will buy their products because they tell them to. But here's the thing. You're not a particularly objective source of information. You can write the most compelling and persuasive sales pitch in the universe, but at the end of the day, it will always be compromised because it came from you. Your audience knows that you're biased and you have a horse in this race. Think about it. If someone came up to you and told you that they had the best watch in the world, that was more objectively beautiful than any other watch, and would keep the time perfectly, would you buy from them? Chances are you'd assume they were making it up. But if they were to let you keep the watch for a week, and you found that it really did change the way people looked at you, you might consider buying it. In other words, the proof is in the pudding. There's nothing like trying a product or service for yourself. So if you really want to convince people to buy from you, giving something away for free is the perfect way to demonstrate to them just how much value you're able to provide. Now they don't have to take your word for it. Now they can experience that value for themselves. This is a huge difference. Luring them in. The other reason that giving away something for free is powerful is that it helps you to draw more people in. This is why competitions are so popular, even when most people don't get anything. If you have something to give away for free, then you will instantly give people a reason to visit your website. That's what will draw them in. And then while they're there, you can use the opportunity to market other things to them. The best example of this, of course, is a lead magnet. This is a freebie that you give away in exchange for an email address. You use this to acquire email addresses, and then you sell to them. A sense of obligation. The other reason that freebies work so well is that they create goodwill. When you give something away for free, people will feel obligated to you. You did them a solid, and now they want to do the same thing back. In fact, studies suggest that we are driven by the desire to give something back that is twice the value of what we received, thereby paying off the social debt. This is why many store owners in the Middle East will begin their negotiations by offering you a nice cup of tea and giving your kids a free gift. Learn from them.